So I want to talk about the new bombshell evidence that's come out about impeachment that we see being discussed on Rachel Maddow's program and all over Twitter and with all the media and Democrats. But I repeat myself, and that is that Lev Parnas, who is an associate of Rudy Giuliani, who has been indicted for improperly giving funds to the Trump campaign, was on Maddow last night, and he had some handwritten notes that show that he was supposed to tell Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine, that they wouldn't get that money unless there was a public meeting acknowledging that they were investigating the Bidens, and Trump knew that this was about. But there's going to be several problems with this, so let's start just superficially at what's going on. We have no proof that these handwritten notes were contemporaneous. In other words, I could, if I'm looking to get a plea bargain and get a reduced sentence, I could retroactively write notes on some of the material I had and claim, oh no, I wrote that at the time, but we have no proof of that. Parnas is a man who's been charged. This is a consistent theme with the intel agencies and the Democrats. Again, I repeat myself. It's that they charge people and then do whatever they can to get them to flip on Trump. That's what happened with Cohen. That's what they tried to do with Manafort, as the judge in the Manafort case said. And that's what they're doing with Parnas. So, of course, Parnas, someone who's seeking to get out of legal jeopardy, would have every incentive to say whatever he can to get out of trouble. Again, look how this contradicts to exactly how the FBI ran the Hillary investigation. Remember, in that investigation, they gave everyone immunity and then said, hey, would you like to say anything about Hillary? And everyone said, no, we're good. But for some reason, they do the exact opposite when it's anyone connected to Trump, which is what you would think people would do. They turn the screws on the lesser people and say, will you now cooperate with us? The problem is sometimes, though, it doesn't just make the canary sing, it makes them compose, as I've heard Alan Dershowitz say. In other words, they could just be making stuff up. Other problems, even if we accept Parnas at face value and that these notes were true, I didn't see anywhere where Parnas said that he specifically talked to Trump himself at all. He's just going through what Giuliani said, so it's more just secondhand hearsay. The only person that talked to Trump in this whole thing was Sondland, who said Trump specifically told him no quid pro quo. The third thing that's going to be problematic about this is he says, oh, Rudy Giuliani had a big thing about Yovanovitch and the ambassador that ended up being fired, and he had a big thing about kind of Alexandra Chalupa and the idea of Ukrainian interference into our 2016 election. So that's good. He should have a big deal into that. No one ever questioned the media or the Democrat associates or the intel people when they were concerned about Russia interfering in the 2016 election. In fact, they demanded these lengthy investigations. So why would it all of a sudden be shady for Trump's personal attorney to want to take an interest in Ukrainian election interference that we know has been admitted? For example, we know that Sergei Leshchenko admitted in the Financial Times, August 2016, that he and other parliamentarians in the Ukraine were actively working to interfere to help Hillary win the election. We know that Artem Sitnik, the head of their investigative agency, the NABU, admitted in audio that he interfered to help Hillary in the 2016 election. So, of course, why wouldn't Rudy Giuliani be concerned with that? Again, this is because the media controls the narrative. The establishment Democrats control the narrative. So they're able to make it sound like, oh, it sounds shady that Giuliani would be concerned about this. When in reality, all of us should be concerned about this foreign election interference. Now, the last thing I want to say is there is some blame to go with the Republicans here. If you've watched my videos from the get-go, I have argued consistently that the Republicans in the House, although some of them were doing an admirable job of trying to defend Trump, were going about it in the wrong way. There were several ways to defend Trump in this and what he did. The ways that they chose seemed to be backwards to me. So they focused on, one, the whistleblower is corrupt and was connected to Schiff, and second, there was no quid pro quo. Those are both defensive positions that you could argue, but the real argument to defend Trump is, I don't care if there was a quid pro quo. I don't even care if the whistleblower was shady. Those things are important to discuss, but they're far less important to the fact of Trump had every right and a duty to want to investigate 2016 election interference from Ukraine and to investigate the Bidens and whether or not the Obama administration in the issue of their quid pro quo violated our laws by withholding $1 billion of our tax dollars to ensure a prosecutor looking into Joe Biden's son was fired. That's it. That's the case. Even if there was a quid pro quo, it doesn't matter. If you could prove there was reason to investigate election interference from Ukraine, which there certainly is, if you could prove that there was reason to investigate corruption by the Bidens and by the Obama administration, which there certainly is reason to investigate that, then a quid pro quo is irrelevant. How do I know that? Because the Obama administration issued a quid pro quo. That was admitted by Joe Biden in his CFR speech. And yet none of the Democrats, none of the media, none of the State Department people, none of the intel community people, none of them said, oh my God, this is impeachable. We need to investigate Obama and Biden's quid pro quo. So it proves they thought that quid pro quo was okay because it was to weed out corruption. So if there was a reason for Trump to issue a quid pro quo for the same thing to weed out corruption, then it's perfectly fine. But because of the Republicans' poor strategy in deciding to put all of their eggs in the, oh, there was no quid pro quo basket, this allows the Democrats to manufacture evidence over and over again saying, oh, this is evidence, maybe there was a quid pro quo. And they say, if there was a quid pro quo, that means that we must impeach. That means that there was corruption. But clearly that's not the case. The quid pro quo is not reason to impeach. It's not reason to remove from office. Only if there was an intent to purely benefit oneself. There's as much evidence that there was an intent to purely benefit Biden and Obama as there is that Trump did it to purely benefit himself. Yet somehow they had no problem with that. So this Lev Parnas story, it's a joke. He has every reason to lie. His testimony does nothing. He didn't directly talk to Trump. He doesn't speak to Trump's intent. And it shadows the fact that Trump had every right and duty to investigate this corruption. So, hey, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'll be putting out more videos as the day goes along on the Virginia situation, on the impeachment situation, Iran situation, and other stuff. So, I also have a link if you look at my description where you can follow me on Patreon, on PayPal. You can follow me on BitChute and Twitter. It's important, even if you don't have money to give, that's totally fine. I totally understand. But it's important to follow on not just me, but any independent creator on different platforms because you never know if YouTube's going to kick someone off or demonetize them. So thanks, everyone, and have a good one.